Welcome to Silent Betrayal, where shocking stories of love, lies, and betrayal unfold. Get ready for jaw-dropping tales that will make you question everything. Subscribe and turn on notifications because the truth is about to be revealed. Now, dive into today's story. John Mitchell had always prided himself on his ability to juggle a demanding career and a long-distance relationship with Sarah Williams. They had met 2 years ago through mutual friends, and despite the miles between Toronto and Vancouver, their bond had only grown stronger. John was 29, a marketing executive at a tech startup, and Sarah, 27, a graphic designer, was as driven and passionate about her career as he was about his. For months, their relationship had been picture perfect. Late-night phone calls, video chats, and heartfelt messages had filled the space where their physical presence was missing. They had made plans for Sarah to move to Toronto within the next year, and John couldn't wait for the day they could finally be together. They often talked about moving in together, traveling, and building a life as a couple. There was a sense of security in their relationship, an unspoken promise that no matter the distance, they were in this for the long haul. But as with many long-distance relationships, doubt crept in from time to time. It wasn't that John didn't trust Sarah, he did, but he also couldn't ignore the small nagging fears that came with being so far apart. But those fears were always put to rest when they spoke. Their connection was real, or at least that's what John believed. But little did he know, a single Instagram post would shatter that belief and throw everything into chaos. It all started with a simple scroll through social media on a lazy Sunday afternoon. John was just checking his Instagram feed, the usual distractions, memes, updates from friends, until he saw it. A photo of Sarah, tagged in a post with another man. The picture was innocuous at first glance. Sarah smiling, her eyes sparkling with laughter, her arm around the shoulders of a man John had never met before. They were at what appeared to be a party, surrounded by friends, yet the intimacy of the moment was undeniable. John's heart skipped a beat. He knew that Sarah had a social life and had always been friendly with people, but something about this picture felt off. He clicked on the tag, and the name that appeared made his stomach churn. Alex Thompson. The man in the picture was someone Sarah had never mentioned before. John's mind began to race. Who was he? How long had they known each other? Was this a new friend, or was there something more to it? John tried to stay calm. He reminded himself that he trusted Sarah, that there could be an innocent explanation. But as he stared at the picture, a sinking feeling in his chest grew. Sarah had never told him about Alex before, and the photo had an uncomfortable closeness to it. John couldn't help but wonder why she hadn't mentioned him. Why hadn't she shared this part of her life with him? What else was she keeping from him? The more John thought about it, the more the doubts began to pile up. He had seen this type of scenario play out in movies and TV shows. The innocent relationship that turns into something much darker. And suddenly, the reality he thought he knew no longer seemed so certain. His mind began to spiral into worst-case scenarios. Unable to shake the feeling of betrayal, John decided to confront Sarah. He wasn't one to jump to conclusions without talking things through, but the image in his mind of Sarah with another man was eating away at him. After hours of deliberating, he finally picked up the phone and dialed her number. "Hey Sarah, can we talk?" he asked, his voice tight. "Of course, John. What's up?" Sarah replied, sounding cheerful, but there was an undertone of surprise in her voice. She could tell something was off. "I saw the post," John said, cutting straight to the point. "You're tagged with some guy, Alex. I didn't even know he existed. What's going on?" There was a brief silence on the other end of the line. Sarah sighed, her voice faltering. "Oh, that. Alex is just a guy I met at a work event. We've been talking here and there, but it's really nothing." Nothing? John repeated, trying to keep his voice steady. Then why didn't you tell me about him? Why did you hide him from me? I wasn't hiding anything, Sarah quickly responded. It's not like that, I promise. He's just a friend, nothing more. I wasn't sure how to bring it up, and it never felt like it was important. John's heart raced as he processed her words. It didn't make sense. How could something so insignificant be left out of the conversation entirely? The idea of her hiding something, anything, from him, felt like a betrayal in itself. The trust they'd built seemed to crumble with each passing second. I'm sorry, John said, his voice strained. I don't know if I can just brush this off. As the days passed, John found himself pulling away. His heart was heavy, and his mind was clouded with doubt. The once secure feeling of their relationship had shifted, leaving him feeling isolated and uncertain. Sarah's explanations, though sincere, didn't seem to make sense to him anymore. He kept replaying the image of her and Alex in his mind, wondering if he was just too blind to see the truth. Their conversations became strained. John stopped texting her as often, and when they did talk, the conversations were short and felt forced. Every word felt like a struggle, as if they were speaking through a wall that had suddenly appeared between them. Sarah sensed the change, but she didn't understand it. She had no idea why John was pulling away, and that made the situation worse. John couldn't help but feel like he was losing her. He couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed, and as much as he wanted to trust Sarah, he couldn't ignore the doubt that had taken root in his mind. The emotional toll of the situation was more than he had anticipated. He had always believed in their future, but now every plan, every dream seemed to be slipping through his fingers. One evening, after another half-hearted phone call, John finally admitted to himself what he had been afraid to face. He wasn't sure if he could trust Sarah anymore. The cracks in their relationship were widening, and no matter how hard he tried to fix them, the distance between them seemed to grow. His doubts started to consume him. He avoided talking to Sarah, unsure of how to voice the feelings that had taken root inside him. Sarah, meanwhile, became frustrated, sensing that something was wrong but not knowing what. She texted him more often, trying to reach out, but John's responses were cold, almost detached. She didn't know what had happened, and that only added to her own insecurities. Finally, Sarah reached out to John. She couldn't handle the distance between them anymore. John, I don't know what's going on with you, but I can feel you pulling away, and I need to understand why. John's heart clenched. He wanted to explain everything, but his words failed him. I just don't know if I can trust you anymore, he admitted quietly. Every memory, every thought about imitating his son and father filled him with agony regarding his past mistakes. Trust me? Sarah echoed. I haven't done anything to break your trust. I swear. Alex is just a friend and I didn't mean to hide anything. I've been busy with work and everything, but I don't want to lose you. The raw honesty in her voice made John realize how far they had both fallen apart. He hadn't given Sarah the chance to explain herself, and instead he had let his insecurities take control. After a long period of reflection, John came to a realization. His doubts were the product of his own fears, not Sarah's actions. He had let his emotions cloud his judgment and had almost ruined something beautiful in the process. Long-distance relationships were hard, and trust was the foundation on which they were built. Without trust, everything else fell apart. John knew what he had to do. He reached out to Sarah and asked if they could talk. This time, there would be no accusations, no defensiveness, just two people trying to find their way back to each other. In a heartfelt conversation, John and Sarah talked openly about their fears, their desires, and their future. Sarah assured him that Alex was nothing more than a colleague, and John realized that he had overreacted. They promised to be more transparent with each other, to communicate more openly about their lives outside of their relationship. As they spoke, The distance between them seemed to shrink, and John realized that the love they shared was worth fighting for. They had a future ahead of them, and it was up to them to make it work. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and comment below with your thoughts. And of course, subscribe to my channel for more engaging real-life stories.